Today, we're diving deep into a high-stakes battle that's happening inside our bodies every single day. It's an escalating arms race between one of our most advanced antibiotics and the incredibly clever superbugs it was designed to hunt down and destroy. So let's get right into it.
Here's the scary truth, right up front. The drugs we count on, the ones that are supposed to be our last line of defense against the absolute worst infections, they're starting to fail. We are facing a global crisis where a simple infection could become deadly again, all because of the rise of these things we call superbugs.
Okay, so let's really frame the problem here. The World Health Organization has basically put out a most wanted list for certain bacteria. And at the top of that list are multi-drug-resistant gram-negative bacteria. Now, these are germs with a particularly tough, kind of armored outer shell, and they're spreading all over the world, posing a massive challenge to modern medicine.
So what exactly is a superbug? You know, it's a great question. Think of it like a microscopic escape artist that's also a master of defense. These bacteria have spent decades evolving, learning our moves, and building up this incredible arsenal of ways to survive our drugs. They're not just resistant to one antibiotic. They can shrug off several different kinds, which makes fighting them incredibly difficult.
To fight back against an enemy this smart, science had to get even smarter, and that led to the creation of a clever, two-part smart drug. It's called Ceftazedime avibactam, or CZA for short, which is way easier to say. It was approved back in 2015 and was designed to be a real superbug killer. Let's break down exactly how this tag team works.
So, weapon number one is ceftazidime. Its whole mission is to sabotage the bacterium's construction crew. See, when a bacterium tries to divide, it has to build a new cell wall, and a protein called PBP3 is essential for that job. While ceftazidime comes in and just jams up PBP3. It's like throwing a wrench in the gears. The bacteria can't divide properly, and instead they stretch out into these weird, long, fragile filaments and literally fall apart.
But, of course, the bacteria have a trick up their sleeve. They produce these defensive enzymes called beta-lactamases. You can just picture them as tiny molecular scissors patrolling inside the cell, just waiting to find our antibiotic and snip it to pieces before it can do any damage. And this is where the second part of our smart drug becomes absolutely crucial.
Meet avibactam. Now, avibactam is not an antibiotic. It's a bodyguard. Its one and only job is to protect ceftazidime. It basically acts like superglue for those molecular scissors. It finds the bacterial enzymes, binds to them, and just gums up the works completely, making them totally useless.
So you see, the combination is everything. On its own, ceftazidime is a sitting duck. It gets chopped up by those molecular scissors. But with its bodyguard avibactam running interference, clearing the way, it can get to its target safely, jam up the machinery, and take out the superbug. It's a really elegant 1-2 punch.
And for a little while, this worked beautifully. It was a game changer. But the arms race, well, it was far from over. In a really dramatic turn of events, the superbugs started to evolve again, finding new and frankly ingenious ways to fight back against even our smartest drug.
And they're not just using one strategy either. They've developed at least 3 main counterattacks. First, they actually mutate their molecular scissors, changing the shape so avibactam's superglue just doesn't fit anymore. Second, they change their outer walls, basically fortifying the gates so the drug can't even get inside. And third, if the drug does sneak in, they have these tiny little pumps that grab it and just throw it right back out.
And get this is not some slow, gradual process happening over years. What is so alarming is the speed. We're seeing cases where bacteria develop these defenses inside a single patient, during one course of treatment, sometimes in as little as 9 or 10 days. It's breathtakingly fast.
Now, one of the most fascinating and kind of weird examples of this rapid evolution involves a specific bacterial enzyme called KPC. Because as we're about to see, the way it mutates creates this really bizarre evolutionary trade-off, almost like a seesaw. Okay, check this out. The original KPC enzyme made bacteria resistant to some of our older, really powerful drugs called carbapenems, but it was vulnerable to our new drug, CZA. So, under pressure from CZA, the enzyme mutates. This new version can now beat CZA, but, and here's the crazy part, that exact same change makes it vulnerable all over again to those old carbapenem drugs it used to resist. It's this evolutionary seesaw that forces doctors into this incredible chess match, sometimes having to switch back to older drugs to outsmart the newest resistance. So let's zoom out from the molecular drama for a second and see how this is playing out on a massive human scale. We're going to take a look at the Indian subcontinent, which surveillance data tells us is a major hotspot in this global crisis.
The data here is, well, it's pretty bleak. Recent reports from the Indian Council of Medical Research show that for two very common and dangerous bacteria, E. coli and Klebsiella pneumoniae, their susceptibility to the antibiotic part, ceftazidime, by itself is shockingly low. I mean, look at those numbers. Over 70% of these bugs can just shrug it off without a protector like avibactam.
And the main reason for this massive resistance in the region is a whole different class of bacterial defense. These are called metallo-beta-lactamases, or MBLs for short, and they create a unique and really dangerous problem for our smart drug, CZA.
And just to show you how bad it's getting, researchers are now finding these nightmare strains of bacteria that are carrying not one, not two, but 3 powerful resistance enzymes at the same time. These so-called triple carbapenemase producers are resistant to almost everything we have: carbapenems, CZA, and even colistin, which is another one of our last resort antibiotics.
So, faced with these merely invincible superbugs, how are doctors on the front lines fighting back? Well, they're having to get even smarter and adapt their strategies in this clinical arms race.
First, we have to understand why these MBL enzymes are such a huge problem. Remember avibactam, our bodyguard? Its superglue trick works because it targets a specific part of the enzyme. But MBLs use a completely different system that involves a zinc ion. It's like trying to use a magnet on a wooden toy. Avibactam's glue just can't stick. So CZA is left totally defenseless against them.
This has led to an incredibly clever workaround, using another combination of drugs. Doctors now give CZA plus a different antibiotic called aztreonam. Here's how this brilliant strategy works. The superbug has multiple weapons, including those MBLs. Now, aztreonam is naturally safe from the MBLs, but it's vulnerable to the bug's other defenses, so they give CZA first. Avibactam, the bodyguard, swoops in and neutralizes all those other defenses, and that clears a perfect path for aztreonam to come in untouched and deliver the killer blow. It is an amazing piece of clinical strategy. This constant back and forth, we make a new drug, they develop a new resistance, we create a new combination therapy, it makes one thing perfectly clear. This isn't a single battle we can just win and walk away from. This is a continuous, never-ending evolutionary arms race.
So, what's the bottom line here? Well, it tells us that superbug resistance is a very real, very dynamic, and escalating threat around the world. It shows us that while our smart drugs like CZA are a major leap forward, they aren't a magic bullet. Bacterial evolution is just too fast and too creative. This means our best weapon is to be just as creative, using even smarter therapies, and, this is key, being much better stewards of the precious few antibiotics we still have left.
And that leaves all of us with a really critical question for the future of medicine. We are locked in this perpetual arms race with an enemy that evolves millions of times faster than we do. As we keep developing smarter drugs, the bacteria will keep developing smarter defenses. The real challenge for all of us is figuring out how we stay one step ahead in a race that never, ever ends.